So boys, Hanayama is cooked or perhaps even fried. Jack Hanma has now shown him the might of modern martial arts in combination with his own evolution on it, his Gao Dao biting martial art, landing the first bite of the fight, and within a single chapter, changing pretty much everything in regards to who was winning. Previously, Jack was able to survive 2 direct shots from Hanayama without any major damage. If you notice, Jack Hanma hasn't actually bled from any of these attacks. It's clear that he's impacted and damaged by him, with his titanium teeth actually moving around and requiring the Hanma to readjust them. However, the second he had gotten serious and was prepared to show Hanayama his true arsenal, absolute domination occurred in an instant. Therefore, today I'll be breaking down why Jack Hanma destroying Hanayama isn't really shocking to any degree based on everything else previously established in the story, and of course some things many of you may have missed in the recent Baki Rahen chapters. So make sure you listen closely and subscribe here on the Mysterious Weeb YouTube channel for all the Baki content you could ever need. Now, in regards to the biting situation, to those of you who aren't aware, it was initially established when Hanayama and Jack had their interaction in the underground arena that Jack may not actually be biting during their fight. This was due to him having insane confidence and not really viewing Hanayama as a crazy threat. This is of course more so prediction based, as at that point Jack wasn't aware of Hanayama's power, fighting style or anything, only viewing him as someone I guess wielding aura based on their first standoff prior to that in the street when Hanayama stopped the street fight with Pickle. But during the lead up of their battle officially beginning, we had Yujiro pull up on Jack and spend an entire chapter glazing Hanayama, which actually resulted in Jack to change his mind and have the desire to give the fight everything he has, which includes his most powerful and evolved martial art, Gao Dao, meaning at the beginning, Jack Hanma has been down and willing to fight. It's more so he's been, I guess, potentially letting Hanayama show his cards and what he's capable of, bringing us to this chapter where Jack finds out pretty quickly that Hanayama is a little bit of a bozo. And yes, I need to make it clear that Hanayama and Jack are my 2 favorite characters in all of Baki. However, the biting cyborg is indeed number 1, my GOAT. So in the case of this video, I am going to be glazing and representing the Jack agenda to the utmost degree. So apologies to the Hanayama fans, might as well get that out of the way now as I go into this. So a big component of Baki Rahen chapter 45 is Jack talking shit about Hanayama's fighting style, something throughout all of Baki that has been his biggest limiting factor and has led to many defeats, with the most notable one being Katsumi during the Maximum tournament, where during the early stages of the fight, Hanayama for the most part was dominating, and at that point in the story was viewed as overall much stronger and honestly the superior fighter. But due to Hanayama's fighting style not involving defense to any degree, Katsumi with his technique was able to win the fight in the end, and Hanayama has fell victim to different situations and crazy damage from potentially opponents weaker than him due to this fighting style over and over again. A similar sense to the whole Pickle narrative and arc, where the Baki characters that have excelled in techniques are able to damage and harm Pickle regardless of the stat difference, and then in the case of the Hanmas, as I've seen with Baki and now recently Jack, with modern techniques they are able to dominate and defeat Pickle without an insane amount of difficulty. Therefore, Jack points out that throughout all of history and martial arts, you won't find a fighting style that doesn't have defensive techniques, until of course you meet Hanayama, the ultimate Sigma, who takes the same NPC stance over and over again, bringing us to what we've been waiting for, the true contest of strength and the one who has the superior body. Hanayama, a character similar to Yujiro, as in he was born built different, and seemingly is also a character who naturally gets stronger throughout the series due to this factor. Well, Jack has been training beyond human comprehension, various physical enhancements, everything for the sake of gaining power, now showing him the might of modern martial arts, and right away absolutely dominating. He lands a strike that seemingly stuns Hanayama, allowing him to grab his hand, land an uppercut alongside a judo slam, Hanayama getting smashed directly on his face, already knocked down, Jack looking down on him. But right now the Hanma is not messing around to any degree. He now lands the almighty German suplex that he spammed on Pickle in the previous fight, once again slamming Hanayama directly on his head, then continuing the combo, highlighting how dangerous current Jack is with his willingness to use everything in his arsenal at once. A lot of people for some reason have the wrong view that current Jack just relies on biting. The majority of his recent Pickle fight was him highlighting other aspects of his arsenal, his mixed martial art capabilities, in combination and finishing combos with his almighty bite, his most lethal, dangerous and newest addition to modern martial arts, landing his first bite on seemingly Hanayama's bicep, a very common spot that we've seen him use since he got reintroduced to the series, and is the first set that is bringing Jack closer to the victory in this fight. The bleeding out aspect is now in effect. Hanayama isn't like Pickle where he could potentially use his transformation to close up the wound or limit the bleeding aspect. Even though that wasn't a factor in the Pickle fight, the bleeding out aspect was during the Sukune one. But with that said, do take note that this is technically only a street fight that is meant to last 5 minutes, meaning the bleeding out aspect probably won't be a factor. However, if the police do show up and this fight is cut short, for example, it's possible that Hanayama is going to be many times more damaged and injured by the end of it, which likely will naturally give Jack the perceived fandom victory. However, moving on, Hanayama really needs to do something else, and that's probably going to connect to his grip strength, his vice grip that he hasn't used in quite some time. If he lands that on Jack, he could very easily even out the playing field. Jack Hanma landing a bite on one of Hanayama's arms, while the Yakuza lands one of his grip things on Jack's arms. Equal damage, and then we continue from there. But I do have faith that this is going to be a wild fight, and one thing on Hanayama's side is he's definitely one of the most durable and hardest characters to definitively take out. But as I've said in many videos now, current Jack Hanma should be quite a bit above Hanayama, and is definitely only going to be truly challenged by the likes of Baki and Yujiro based on everything we've seen so far. Even the likes of Motobe is probably going to get destroyed if we're being honest. But Baki Rahan chapter 46 is apparently going to come out around the 12th of June. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, make sure to join the Discord for any updates on chapters, the anime, or any other fighting manga greatness. Shout out to the members of the channel, these absolute mad lads. Check out the Baki playlist with all the content you need. And that's it guys. Peace.